Have you ever stepped into someone's home and immediately felt your shoulders drop, your breath ease, just because everything seemed calm and in its place? Not fancy, not perfect, just light. I'll tell you something personal. A few years ago, I visited an elderly Japanese woman living alone here in the US. Her house was tiny, nothing like the glossy magazines. But the moment I walked in, I felt as if the space itself was holding me, steady and gentle. No piles of laundry, no clutter shouting for attention, just slippers neatly waiting at the door, a teacup set quietly on the table, and air that felt open and free. And here's the twist. She wasn't strong anymore. Arthritis had slowed her hands, her knees hurt on rainy days, and she often forgot where she left her glasses. But her home, always tidy, always peaceful. That's when I realized it's not about having energy or youth or the perfect storage system. It's about small, tender habits, repeated every day, habits that care for you as much as you care for your space. What most people never say out loud, but you might feel deep down, is this. As we age, clutter can feel like proof that we're slipping, that we no longer have control. And that fear of being forgotten in our own mess is heavier than the clutter itself. But it doesn't have to be that way. In today's video, I'll share with you 7 quiet Japanese habits. Gentle, realistic, and kind. You don't need to change everything. You don't need to chase perfection. You just need to begin with one small shift. And if you stay with me to the end, I'll tell you the single habit this woman swore was her secret key. The one she said made her mornings brighter even as her body slowed down. Before we begin, I'd love to know, where are you watching from, and how has your daily rhythm with your home been lately? We read every single comment, and your story might be just what someone else needs today. So, let's take a breath together and begin with the first habit, one that changed the way I see every single object in my own home. Habit 1. Every item has its place. Do you ever find yourself looking for your glasses, your keys, or even the TV remote, knowing it must be somewhere close, yet somehow it always disappears? That small frustration builds up, and before you know it, the whole house feels like it's running you instead of you running it. One of the simplest but most powerful habits I learned from Noriko, the elderly Japanese woman I told you about, was this. Every single item has a home, not a random spot, not today on the table and tomorrow in the drawer, a true home. For her, the remote always returned to the center of the coffee table. The slippers always faced the door. The towel always folded neatly on the same shelf. She didn't spend time tidying because she never allowed things to wander in the first place. I remember sitting in her living room, noticing how calm the space felt. I asked, "Do you spend a lot of time arranging things every day?" She laughed gently and said, "No, I don't tidy up. I just bring everything back home." That simple answer struck me. For many of us, the silent fear is that as we get older, we'll lose control, not just of our bodies, but of our daily lives. Misplaced objects become more than just clutter. They feel like proof that we're slipping, forgetting, maybe even failing. But what if instead of letting things scatter, we gave each one a home? Then when life feels uncertain, at least our space still feels steady. Personally, I started small, just putting my remote back in the same place after each use. That one tiny act lifted a surprising weight off my mind. No more wasted minutes searching, no more frustration. My home felt calmer, and so did I. As one older friend told me, when everything has a place, I feel like I have a place too. Isn't that beautiful? So maybe tonight, before you head to bed, pick just one thing, a pair of glasses, your house keys, or your favorite cup. Decide where it belongs. Bring it back there each time. You'll be amazed at how much lighter your home and your heart will feel. You can do this too. And speaking of lightness, let me share another habit that surprised me. It's not about putting things away, but about finishing the tiniest tasks right away before they pile up into something heavy. Let's move to habit 2. Habit 2. Do it now if it takes 1 minute. How many times have you walked past a dirty cup in the sink or a small spill on the counter and thought, "I'll get to it later"? Later often never comes. And suddenly one small cup turns into a pile of dishes, or one drop becomes a sticky mess that takes 10 times more energy to clean. Noriko, the elderly Japanese woman I learned from, had a gentle way of handling this. While pouring tea, If a single drop spilled, she would wipe it right away. No hesitation, no sigh. She told me softly, "If it takes less than a minute, I don't wait. I finish it now." It wasn't a rule she forced herself to follow. It was just how she lived, one small completion at a time. I thought about how many times I left cups until the evening, or a letter sitting on the table for days. Each delay felt small, but together they created what I call invisible weight. That silent pressure you feel in your chest, the heaviness of knowing things are unfinished. And for many of us growing older, that's the deeper fear, not the mess itself, but the feeling that life is slipping out of our hands, one little delay at a time. The truth is, you don't need to conquer your whole home in one sweep. You just need to handle the tiny things, right when they appear. I started with washing one spoon immediately after using it. Just one spoon. And you know what? My evenings began to feel lighter because I wasn't staring at a pile of laters waiting for me. One of my older friends once said, "Every small thing I finish right away feels like proof that I'm still capable." That stayed with me. Because finishing tiny tasks is not about cleaning, it's about dignity, about reminding yourself you are still in control. So here's a gentle invitation. Tonight, when you see something that takes 1 minute or less, pick it up, rinse it, wipe it, or fold it. Then let it go. You can do this too. And once those little things stop building up, another habit becomes possible, keeping less, but choosing more wisely. That's the next secret Noriko taught me, and it might just free not only your space, but also your heart. Habit 3. Keep less, choose wisely. Do you ever open a drawer and feel a little wave of stress? Not because it's dirty, but because it's full of things you rarely use. A pan that hasn't touched the stove in years, 3 sets of towels when you really reach for the same one every time. That quiet weight of too much is something many of us carry without even noticing. When I visited Noriko's kitchen, I was surprised. 1 pot, 1 pan, 2 bowls. Her fridge was neat, without old sauces hiding in the back. She smiled and said, "I only keep what I use. I don't need the rest." There was no guilt in her voice, no sense of deprivation, only peace. For many older women, the unspoken fear is this: if we let go of things, we're letting go of memories, of security, of proof that we were once needed. But holding on too tightly often leaves us trapped in clutter. Noriko's way showed me that simplicity doesn't mean loss, it means freedom. I thought of my own home, a blender I hadn't touched since 2010, a drawer full of gifts I never liked but couldn't throw away. Keeping them didn't make my life richer, it made me feel behind, like my space was cluttered with yesterday's weight. One friend of mine, now 72, once told me, "When I gave away half of my things, my home didn't feel emptier. I finally felt like I had room to breathe." That line has never left me. So here's a gentle step you can try. Open just one drawer today. Hold each item and ask, "Do I use this? Does it give me ease?" If the answer is no, give yourself permission to let it go. Not everything at once, just one drawer, one shelf. You can do this too. And once the space is lighter, something else becomes possible. The small nightly ritual that keeps everything from building up again. That's the next habit Noriko shared, and it might be the simplest way to wake up to a calmer home tomorrow morning. Habit 4. The 5-minute night tidy. Have you noticed how heavy it feels to wake up to yesterday's mess? A cup still on the table, crumbs on the counter, a chair pushed out of place. It's not just clutter, it's like starting a new day already one step behind. Noriko, the elderly woman I told you about, had a quiet ritual that changed this completely. Each night, before bed, she took exactly 5 minutes. She washed 2 cups, wiped the table, put the tray away, and straightened the chairs. Nothing dramatic, nothing exhausting. She told me, "I don't wait for the house to get messy to clean. I just say a soft goodbye to the day." For older women, there's often a hidden fear. What if tomorrow I don't have the energy? That's why this habit matters. Ending the day with light order means beginning the next morning with calm. No overwhelm, no reminder of what you couldn't finish yesterday. Just a home ready to welcome you. I tried it myself. At first I thought 5 minutes wouldn't matter, but after a week I noticed I was sleeping easier. Not because the house looked perfect, but because my mind wasn't carrying unfinished tasks. The clutter wasn't waiting for me in the morning, I woke up lighter. A friend of mine, 70 years old, once said, "The best gift I give myself each night is 5 minutes of peace. It's like tucking my home into bed before I rest." So here's something gentle to try. Tonight, pick just 3 small things. Wash 1 cup, fold 1 towel, straighten 1 chair. That's it. You can do this too. And once you feel the calm of that habit, you'll start to see something else. How giving each corner of your home a clear purpose makes tidying even easier. That's the next habit, and it might surprise you. Habit 5. Every space has a purpose. Do you ever feel like your home is shrinking, even though the walls haven't moved an inch? The dining table holds yesterday's mail, the sofa has a pile of laundry, the kitchen counter doubles as a desk. Suddenly, no space feels restful. Noriko, the elderly Japanese woman whose story I've been sharing, showed me something powerful. Every area in her home had a clear job. The dining table was only for meals. The armchair was only for reading. The kitchen counter was only for cooking. Nothing overlapped. She told me, when each corner knows its role, the home feels bigger, even if the house is small. For many seniors, the quiet fear is losing control of their environment, feeling like life is crowding in and there's no room to breathe. But by defining clear purposes, you bring back order without needing more space or energy. I remember visiting her and noticing the simplicity. 1 teacup, 1 armchair, 1 book neatly waiting on the shelf. There wasn't less life there, it was actually fuller. It felt calm, like every corner was saying, "This is enough." And I realized how in my own home, mixing everything together, eating where I worked, working where I rested, wasn't just messy, it was confusing my mind. An older friend once said, "When I keep the bed only for sleep, I sleep better. When I eat at the table, I feel grateful for the meal. When I sit in my chair, I know it's time to rest." That's the wisdom here. You don't need to change everything, just pick one area and give it back its rightful role. So maybe tonight you choose. Let the dining table be for meals again. Clear 1 chair just for sitting. Return 1 counter back to cooking. You can do this too. And when you do, you'll see how much lighter tomorrow feels. Because preparing for the next day actually begins the night before, and that's the habit we're about to explore. Habit 6. Prepare for tomorrow tonight. Do your mornings sometimes feel like a race you never agreed to run? You wake up, the sun barely rising, and instead of peace, there's already a quiet chaos waiting, searching for clothes, looking for keys, realizing yesterday's dishes are still on the counter. And before you've even had your first sip of tea, you already feel behind. Noriko, the 80-year-old woman I visited in her small home, taught me a habit so gentle, yet so powerful, that I still carry it with me today. Every evening before bed, she takes 10 minutes to prepare for tomorrow. 10 quiet minutes, not rushed, not burdensome, just enough to place a bit of order in the air before sleep. I remember watching her. She folded her shirt for the next morning and laid it carefully on a chair. She set a small handkerchief on top. She checked that the kitchen was tidy, no cups left behind. She locked the door softly, placed a glass of water on the bedside table, and smiled. Not because everything was perfect, but because everything was ready. When I asked her why she did this, she said something that stayed with me. Morning is when the mind feels most confused, so I clear a path for myself the night before. And I realized she was right. For many of us, especially as we get older, mornings can feel heavier than evenings. The body is stiff, the mind feels cloudy, the energy takes time to arrive, and the hidden fear that many of us carry is that one day we won't be able to keep up at all, that our days will feel like they're slipping out of our hands. But Noriko's ritual wasn't about doing more, it was about needing less. By preparing in the evening, she gifted her future self a softer morning. She didn't have to wonder what to wear. She didn't have to face dishes piled in the sink. She didn't have to scramble for her keys. She simply stepped into a day that was already waiting for her, calm and unhurried. I tried this myself. One night, I picked out a shirt, filled a water bottle, and cleared the chair beside my bed. The next morning, something shifted. I woke up lighter, not because my house was spotless, but because the little obstacles, the small decisions that used to tire me, were already taken care of. I didn't have to fight my way into the day. I could simply enter it. One of my elderly friends once told me, I don't prepare to be busy. I prepare to be calm. That touched me deeply, because for so long I believed preparation was about productivity, about getting ahead. But watching Noriko, listening to that quiet wisdom, I understood preparation as kindness. A kindness not for others, but for ourselves. Think of it this way. What if every evening you left behind a little gift for the person you'll be tomorrow? It could be as small as setting out your teacup, or as simple as placing your keys where you'll find them without effort. It doesn't have to be a long list. It doesn't have to be tiring. It just has to be consistent. You can do this too. Even if all you manage is 5 minutes, choosing clothes, folding one towel, rinsing one cup, that little act can remove 3 frustrations in the morning, and each frustration removed gives you back a piece of peace. The past may have been cluttered with rushing. The present may feel like you're trying to catch up, but your future can be calmer, simply because you took a few quiet minutes tonight. That's the bridge Noriko built every evening, and it's one you can build too. She once told me, "At night, I thank today by preparing for tomorrow." And I think that's why her home felt so light. It wasn't about how much she cleaned, but about how much care she gave to her own well-being. So maybe tonight, before you turn off the lights, try just one small thing. Lay out your clothes, place a book you love by the bed, or pour water into your favorite glass and leave it waiting for you. Tomorrow morning, when you wake up, you'll realize you've been cared for. By you. And speaking of caring for yourself, there's one final habit that brings all of these together. Not about tidying faster or doing more, but about living with a grateful heart. Let's talk about gratitude. Habit 7. Gratitude for every item. Do you ever look around your home and feel weighed down by the things in it? Not because they're heavy, but because they silently remind you of chores, of clutter, of tasks undone? Noriko, the elderly Japanese woman I visited, showed me something so gentle yet transformative. After we finished our tea one evening, she washed her cup, dried it with a soft towel, and before placing it back on the shelf, she pressed her hands together for just a second. I thought she was simply pausing, but then she whispered, "Thank you for serving me today." That one moment stopped me. I had never thanked an object in my life. I used things, I cleaned them, sometimes I even resented them, like the heavy pots I hated to scrub or the shoes that dirtied the floor. But gratitude, that never crossed my mind. And yet, as I stood in her kitchen, I realized her home didn't just look tidy. It felt warm, almost alive, as if every item in it was cared for, not because it was expensive or beautiful, but because it had been honored. Noriko explained softly, "I once lived with very little, so I learned to value what I have, not to hoard, not to cling, but to thank." That was her secret. She didn't keep too much, because each item held meaning. She didn't resent chores, because she treated them as small conversations with the objects that supported her life. For many of us, the fear we don't often say out loud is this. As we age, we feel like life is slipping out of our control. Things pile up. We don't have the energy to manage them. And slowly, our homes, once our refuge, can start to feel like a burden. But gratitude changes that. Gratitude shifts the relationship. Instead of seeing a sink full of dishes, we can thank the cup that let us drink tea. Instead of cursing the chair that holds unfolded laundry, we can thank it for supporting us in the evening. It sounds simple, maybe even strange, but gratitude lightens the weight of ownership. It turns chores into rituals of care. I tried this myself. One morning I picked up my old mug, the one I usually grab half asleep, and instead of tossing it in the sink, I paused and said quietly, "Thank you." Just 2 words, but something softened inside me. The task no longer felt heavy. It felt complete. A friend of mine, a widow in her late 70s, once told me, "When I thank the small things, I don't feel as alone. My home answers back with peace." That touched me deeply. Because isn't that what we're all looking for in the end? Not a perfect house, not spotless counters, but a home that gives us comfort and reminds us that we are still connected, still cared for, still here. So what if you tried this today? Tonight, when you fold a towel, or put away a spoon, or even slip into bed, whisper a thank you. Thank your blanket for warmth. Thank your chair for holding you. Thank your table for gathering your meals. You can do this too. It doesn't take energy. It doesn't take time. It just takes presence. And slowly you may notice your home doesn't just look cleaner. It feels gentler, calmer, more alive. Because gratitude is not about the object, it's about the spirit we bring into our space. And that spirit transforms everything. And as Noriko smiled at me that evening, she said one last thing. A tidy home is not built by hands alone. It's built by a grateful heart. So maybe tonight, try one thank you. And tomorrow, see how much lighter your home feels. And speaking of lightness, let's bring all these habits together. 7 quiet, gentle practices that don't demand strength, but give back peace. In our closing, I'll remind you how each one is a step toward a home and a life that feels enough. Your home doesn't need to impress. It just needs to let you breathe easier. That line has stayed with me ever since Noriko, the elderly woman I told you about, smiled and said, "When my home is light, my heart feels lighter too." Her words weren't about decoration or wealth or showing off. They were about freedom, the kind of quiet freedom that comes from knowing your space is not against you, but with you. And maybe that's what you're longing for too. Not a perfect house, not endless energy, just the peace of waking up in a place that feels calm, gentle, and yours. Let me remind you of the 7 habits we shared today. Habit 1, give every item a home. When things have a place, your mind rests. Habit 2, if it takes a minute, do it now. Small actions prevent heavy burdens. Habit 3, keep less, choose wisely. Simplicity makes space for breathing. Habit 4, 5 minutes each night, a soft goodbye to the day. Habit 5, let every space have its purpose. Boundaries create peace. Habit 6, prepare for tomorrow tonight. Structure is a gift to your future self. Habit 7, gratitude for every item. Care transforms even the smallest things. Each habit may seem small on its own, almost too simple. But when you live them together, they give back something priceless. A sense of control, a feeling that your home is on your side, and with it, the gentle dignity of independence. And if right now you feel behind, or that your home is too much to handle, I want you to remember this. You're not behind. You're simply ready. And you can do this too. So tell me, which habit will you try first? Share it below. You might inspire someone else who is walking the very same path as you. Sometimes, the quietest stories are the ones that change lives. Until next time, be kind to your space, and even kinder to yourself.